What's going on, Wiz Nation? Coming back at you guys with another episode of State of the Wizards. We are now in episode 14. 14. It
Mm,
feels good to be here. It's been a long time since the last time we did an episode together, my dude. How's everything going over there for you?
everything is going good, man. Enjoyed Thanksgiving last week. Tried not to eat too much turkey, but still had ate enough turkey. How was your Thanksgiving, bro?
It was good, man. I mean, no complaints at all. I enjoyed myself with my family and man, it's just good to, have this time, especially, with everything else that goes on out in the world. You know what I mean? So
Right.
sometimes just being around your family just reminds you, how appreciative um,
Right.
life is. Um so you already know again, it's been a while since we've covered the Wizards. So we got to catch up on some things. The Wizards
Okay.
right now are actually, before we get started, sorry, let's go ahead and start off with the plugs. So, if this is your first time tuning in to State of the Wizards, thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe, comment, like, share. Um, you know, Show us some love. We ain't got no problem with showing love back. We'll even do a follow for follow if we need to. So, again, thank you for tuning in to this episode. Also, follow me on at Wizards Mafia on Twitter. That's Wiz Takes. Also, follow State of the Wizards on Twitter as well, and follow DC Hoopla as well. Also, subscribe to DC Hoopla. And if I'm not mistaken, Jose, you got DC Hoopla now on streaming platforms.
Yes, sir. Got it on Spotify, so definitely can find me on there. If you're not able to subscribe, well, if you don't watch my YouTube, then you can definitely subscribe to my Spotify at DC Hoopla.
Absolutely. All right, so let's dive in.
All right.
So the Wizards are sitting at 13-8. They have a
Right.
13-8 record, tied for
Mm-hmm.
first in the Southeast Division.
Mm-hmm.
We're also fourth in the East. But
Right.
as we go along, because we started off the season 5-1, then we went
Mm-hmm.
10-3,
Mm-hmm.
then we went 11-7. Now we're 13-8.
Right.
Tell me where you are right now with this team, our record, and are we as good as advertised? Or once again, like we covered before, is everything that you're seeing right now fool's gold?
Where I'm at right now is that I think we're hitting reality. I think we're mediocre at best, but I don't want to beat up on the team because if you look at the Eastern Conference, and you and I spoke about this offline because I didn't even pay attention to that, but a lot of teams in the Eastern Conference are right pretty much along the same lines.
Yeah.
When you actually look at it, any team like us, Chicago Bulls, the Brooklyn Nets, the New York Knicks. No, I think the Knicks are below us.
Miami Heat.
But the Miami Heat, like neither one of those teams can go on a two-game losing streak because you can actually fall down 7 spots in the Eastern Conference.
Yep.
This conference is nothing like the Western Conference, where clearly there's two teams that you can look at and say, they're the best teams, which is Phoenix and Golden State. So a lot of teams in the Eastern Conference were kind of beating each other up. Do I think eventually maybe one team in the Eastern Conference is possibly going to turn it on and get real hot and run away from, with the East? Maybe. I'm not too sure which team that is. But when it pertains to us, do I think it's fool's gold? I don't want to say that, but I will say that the hot streak has gotten everybody expectations high. And then when we're kind of playing 500 basketball right now, people are scrambling and trying to figure out what the problem is. But I think we're trying to rush Rome in 1 year. And you know the old saying, Rome wasn't built overnight.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're right. I mean, we can't rush to say that this team is either going to be a terrible team, and we can't rush to saying that this team is going to be a championship team. You and
Right.
I both have been on the Wizards verse, and so that whole "so Wizards," I'm getting that out of here. We're referring to Wizards Twitter now as Wizards verse.
Absolutely.
The whole Wizards verse. Uh, so as we're going through and we seeing the timeline, we see championship trophies. We seeing people saying that, this team is one of the best teams in the East. We're going to continue to be one of the best teams in the East. We're kind of crowning them too early. And then in the games that we lose against the Spurs, for example, or
Mm-hmm.
the Pelicans, for example, we get that reality check.
Right.
And the reality check comes in because people are setting the expectation level so high. And
Right.
in my opinion, what contributes to that obviously was a hot start.
Right.
No one saw this coming. No one expected us to be in this position. But let's call it what it is, man. We took care of some games that we were supposed to take care of. We beat some teams that a lot of people didn't think we would beat. And then we lost some games that we were ultimately supposed to win. So when, if you're looking at our record, yes, we're sitting fourth in the East. We're tied with the Miami Heat, the Milwaukee Bucks, and we already know the Bucks are going to get hot.
Absolutely.
The Miami Heat has gotten hot.
Right.
All right. So when you look at all of the other teams, the Hornets sitting at 13 wins just like we are. They have 10 in the loss column. We have 8 in the loss column. So, we lose 2 straight. We jump from fourth in the Eastern Conference down to 6th just that quickly. The Knicks, who I believe they're playing the Nets tonight, if they win, they're at 12 wins.
Right.
And then that's 7th seed. That's 7th place.
Right.
And then the eighth place team in the Eastern Conference is the Sixers, who are at 11 wins.
Right.
And then you look, that's just the top 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about 2 games separating us at 4 to 8. Then you got to look at the fact that other teams have also excelled. And look at the Cleveland Cavaliers, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland is sitting at 9.
Right.
The Hawks, who nobody even talked about, they started off slow. They are currently
Right.
11 and 10. So they're sitting at 10. And then you got the Celtics. The Celtics of all teams are sitting at 12 at 11 and 10. And guess what only separates us
Right.
in those teams? 2.5 games. So
2.5 games.
So when we talk about our record, it actually means nothing. It actually means nothing because you got 12 teams who are separated only 3.5 games from first place.
That's crazy.
Teams. That's crazy. 12 teams are separated. That's the only thing that's separating from the bottom 12 to the top 1. It's 3.5 games. So anyway, I say all that to say, I won't say that this start is fool's gold, but what I will say is that we are doing the same things that other teams are also doing.
Exactly.
And, there will be a time, and I'm going to let you elaborate on that time, where it really starts to get tough for us.
Yeah.
And let's go into that. When do you think that time is?
Well, I think that time starts tomorrow.
Okay.
We play against the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves, if I'm correct, they're 1 game above 500. I think they're 11 and 10 right now.
Mm-hmm.
But they're mediocre, but they are a young team that if you sleep on them, you can lose. We play the Cavaliers at home on Friday. You just talked about them. They're 11 and 10. They're a team that's starting to play a little bit better. The Toronto Raptors, they're 9-12. We're 1-1 against that team. We play against the Pacers. But so I think it starts tomorrow, but when I think it really truly truly starts, and I'm gonna be honest, it's on the 11th when we play Utah next Saturday at home. Now, yes, I know we swept them last year, but I think this Utah Jazz team is gonna be a little bit more focused. And they're gonna remember what happened. So we played the Utah Jazz at home. We played Denver on the 13th on the road. We played Sacramento on the road on the 15th. Phoenix on the road. This is a West Coast trip, another one that we got coming that we play
Right.
on the road. And I'm gonna say to you, on Wizards, I'm gonna say it to you. What I said this morning was, and I'm gonna say it on here on State of the Wizards. By looking at the month of December, this is when we're gonna find out what type of team that we are, because we could either be below 500 or we sustain. We could still remain above 500.
Mm-hmm.
But this month is the adversity month. How do we handle a month like this when we got a tough stretch when a lot of the teams that we're playing against are just as good, if not a little bit better than us? How well do we play against these teams?
How well do we play against the teams that is coming up on this tough schedule?
Absolutely.
So when
Even
you
the
talk
teams that
about,
look mediocre, even
yeah,
the teams that are mediocre on here, you still can't say that those games are gimmies. Like, we can say what we want about the Pacers, we can say what we want about Toronto, but if we're not focused, we can be in the loss column in those two games.
right. And I agree with that. I agree with that. I mean, Denver, Sacramento, Phoenix, Utah, um, you know, that's a tough stretch. And then the very next week, we're at Brooklyn and we're at the Knicks. So
Exactly.
we're playing more road games next month than we're playing home games for sure. But
Exactly.
what I see as gruesome is we're starting that West Coast trip. Actually, excuse me, we're starting up in Toronto. Then we're going down to Indiana, and then we're going out to Detroit before we have one home game in a span of, what is that? 10, was that 10 road games? Am I seeing that
Right.
correctly? 10 road games?
Yeah. 10 road games this in December. Yeah.
So 10 road games.
That we only got 4 home games next month, and the rest of them are on the road. That's a tough stretch. And I think what's really a tough stretch is next week, because you play in Toronto, then you make that trip. It's a back to back to the Pacers. So we know that Dinwiddie is not going to play in one of those games. Then we go to Detroit, and then we come home and play Utah, and then we fly out to Denver. You play in Sacramento, then you have another back to back when you're flying down to Phoenix. Then you go to Utah. Like, bro, that's tough. And then of course the New York trip, Brooklyn and the Knicks. And depending on the situation, because both of those two teams, and I'll elaborate on one letter, a little bit later with some of the changes that they've made, you just don't know what the Knicks and what the Nets are going to look like around Christmas time. And that's the thing. These two games are right before Christmas. We already saw what happened last week against the Pelicans right before Thanksgiving.
Right, right.
That's pretty much a bad behavior that this team has always had, no matter who was on the roster. Whenever there's a holiday like that, sometimes the Wizards has the tendency to already be checked out.
Yeah. I mean, in the past, the month of December has been the story of our season.
It has.
The year that we won 49 games, I think we only lost 2 or 3 games in December.
Right.
And we turned around and had a great January as well.
Right.
But 9 times out of 10, any Wizards season, I don't care which one it is, December normally dictates which way our season's going to go.
That is very true. That's a fact.
So let's talk about last game, and then we'll
Okay.
talk about some things that has come up in
All
our
right.
in the most previous Wizards verse, right? So We lost to the Spurs 116-99.
Mm-hmm.
The Spurs shot 53% from the floor. The Wizards shot
Mm-hmm.
44%.
Mm-hmm.
The Wizards also shot 29% from three-point range, 9 for 31. We shot 61% from free throw. And, the problem that I saw on social media was a lot of people pointing the blame at Spencer Dinwiddie.
Exactly.
So let's talk about that.
Okay.
A lot of people pointing the finger at Spencer Dinwiddie, not attacking, not being aggressive. You and I, and especially you were the first person that I know who has pointed out that Spencer Dinwiddie and Bradley Beal cannot play together. So elaborate on why you said that, and then we'll go from there, because I think that your prediction, in my opinion, early on was spot on, number one, but this was before it grew legs. Now that this problem has grown legs, we'll expound on it. But let's go to why you said that early on.
Well, one of the reasons why I said it early on was because I see two different styles of play when these guys are on the court at the same time. When Spencer Dinwiddie is on the court, he's more aggressive. Um, he knows for a fact that he has to be the one that scores the basket. And then when Bradley Beal comes into the game, then he defers because now it's up to Bradley Beal to take the game over. So all you have to do is just take that Pacers game when we went into overtime. Spencer Dinwiddie played 34 minutes and scored 34 points. Beal didn't play that game. The next game, Spencer Dinwiddie was kind of like a non-factor. And we've been seeing that throughout the whole season where Spencer Dinwiddie is basically just out there. He's passing the ball. He's kind of like trying to play within the. It's to me, it seems like he's doing a lot more thinking. And I know you spoke about this, so I'll let you elaborate on it a little bit more. But Spencer Dinwiddie was brought here to be more of a game manager. The problem is that's not Spencer Dinwiddie's game. He's really a guy that actually supposed to be a number one option. When he has the ball in his hands, he's able to be effective. But now you're asking him to defer to a guy like a Bradley Beal, and it just can't work. So people put these expectations on Spencer Dinwiddie that he's going to come here and average 20 and 7. Right now, he's averaging what he's been averaging his career. So you got to make a decision. Do you want Spencer Dinwiddie to be aggressive and be this 2019, 2020 Spencer Dinwiddie, or do you want him to defer to Bradley Beal? And if you want him to defer to Bradley Beal, then it's not going to work. These two players can't play together. Spencer Dinwiddie was the man in Brooklyn. Now he's not the man here. It just cannot work. Look at what he's averaging, 14.7. That's pretty much normal. I was kind of expecting him to put those type of numbers up. But people want him to put up more than that. So this is not really a formula of success. I mean, you've seen more than enough sample size that these two players can't play together. It just can't work.
So let's look at Spencer Dinwiddie's career stats. And then I'll go into, the issues, so to speak, that people are having with Spencer Dinwiddie. All right. So let's talk about Spencer Dinwiddie's field goal percentage.
Right.
All right. He shoots a career 41% from the field.
Right.
All right. Let me just hover over this. All right. That's the first thing. He's never been a great shooter.
Exactly.
Never been a great shooter. So before the Wizards said, hey, let's make this trade. Let's make this 5-team trade blockbuster deal for Spencer Dinwiddie.
Right.
Let's make one thing clear. The Wizards knew that Spencer Dinwiddie wasn't a great shooter from the field.
Right.
All right, let's look at the field goal attempts. Spencer Dinwiddie on average 10.2 field goal attempts a game. His career high was in 2019-2020 with the Brooklyn Nets. And even then, that was 16 attempts a game. You know what Bradley Beal's career high is? 22 or 23 field goal attempts a game.
Mm-hmm.
John Wall's, I think, is 18 or 19. Russell Westbrook's is around 18 or 19. So Spencer Dinwiddie doesn't take a high volume amount of shots. He doesn't take a high volume, amount of shots at all, like in his entire career.
Mm-hmm.
So not only does he not shoot the ball a lot, but he doesn't shoot the ball very well from the field.
Right.
All right. So let's continue. His 3-point percentage, very respectable, 32% from the three. But one thing I wanted to highlight is he's actually shooting a better 3-point percentage this year than he's ever shot. The only other year he's had a better 3-point shooting year was in 2016 through 2017 when he shot 37%. See that?
Yep.
And if I'm not
Look
mistaken,
how many attempts he took that year.
Exactly. He wasn't even taking as many attempts. But this is his best 3-point shooting year, right? And people complaining, but they're not even factoring in that this man is actually having a career year from 3-point land. All right, so let's continue. All right, going down the board. All right, we look at the amount of assists. All right, actually, hold on, I skipped over one. Free throws. All right, so look at this number. All right, 5.4 free throw made in 2019-2020, and he went to the free throw line 7 times. 7 times.
Right.
So look at how many times he's getting to the line now compared to his career year, because that was a career year for him. He got to the line 4 times more than he gets to the line now. And he made more. So that's why his averages was where it was in 2019-2020. All right. Now let's go down. Assists. Again, career year, 6.8. Let's round it off to 7. He's at about 5 this year. But the reason why this is so prevalent, why I'm highlighting this, because people saying, well, we're not getting the same Nets Dinwiddie. Well, actually, it looks pretty close to me. The only difference is he was getting to the free throw line more.
That's true.
He shot 41%. He's shooting 41% this year.
Mm-hmm.
All right. He attempted 6 threes a game. He's attempting 5.6, rounded off to 6 threes a game. All right. All right. He averaged 6 assists, 6.8 assists. He's at 5.2 assists.
Not that far off.
It's literally, people are saying, well, we're not getting the same Spencer Dinwiddie. Look, this is your only difference. 2014, all right, and where's the free throw? 5.4, and 2.6. That's really the only difference. Yeah. And he's shooting better from 3.
He is shooting better. He's shooting better from the free throw line too.
He's shooting better. Okay, so he's shooting better from the free throw line. Yeah, because he's at 88. Yeah, he's at 88%. And that year he was shooting 77%.
Now, my dude, not to cut you off.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's one more stat that I want you to get to. I know you're going to get to it. You don't. There's one more stat. It's the most important stat of all. I'm going to let you get to that.
Oh, you already know.
People are not factoring in.
You already know what I'm about to say. Because I was going to end it with that. When somebody asks you, where's Dinwiddie? What do you tell them?
Not turning the ball over.
Not turning the ball over. My
Look
man
at his
only
career
averages
average.
my man only averages 1.8 turnovers a game. Look, I don't care what anybody says. This is as efficient of a number as you're going to get at the point guard position. Period. Okay, that's as efficient of a number as you're going to get at the point guard position. In 2019, he averaged almost 3 turnovers a game. This year, under 2, 1.6 turnovers a game. So, look, pick your poison, folks. What I'm tired of you guys saying, oh, well, we don't need this type of point guard. We don't need a John Wall. We don't need a Russell Westbrook. You know, that wasn't the vision that Tommy Shepard had going into the season for why we traded Spencer Dinwiddie. Now that Spencer Dinwiddie's giving you exactly what the vision was that Tommy Shepard had, now all of a sudden, we don't need Dinwiddie. Oh, man, it would be so great to have, you know, a point guard who attacks the rim. Well, you guys said we didn't need that anymore. You guys were the ones who said that it was time to move on past John Wall. You guys said that you were tired of the 6 turnovers from Russell Westbrook. So now that Dinwiddie's giving you 1 turnover a game, you're complaining about that? You're complaining about the fact that he's not giving you enough? Well, I think the real problem is, your real problem with Dinwiddie is he's not turning the ball over. It's something that you can't complain about. Dinwiddie's literally not giving you guys anything to complain about other than the fact that he's not scoring the ball. But then when I say to you guys, well, he's never been a scorer. You say to me, well, scoring isn't really my only issue. You move the goalposts.
Exactly.
So which one is it? Do you want him to score? Do you want to be a facilitator? Well, he's not aggressive. Well, he's never been aggressive. I just pointed that out. Look at his career numbers. So Wes Unseld Jr. and Tommy Shepard brought him here because they knew that he was an efficient point guard. He takes care of the basketball, which tells me he plays within the offense. So he's not doing too much. He's not forcing anything.
Right.
And he's slowing pace. So
which that's another complaint everybody has.
Yeah, because he's slowing it down. So people are so used to, you know what, 5 years of push. You know, take as many shots early in the shot clock as you can. Russell Westbrook comes down, he'll pull up a mid-range with 17 seconds left on the shot clock. You know, Bradley Beal get into your spots very quickly. You gotta push. It's all about pace. See how many points you can score. You know, match fire with fire. We're gonna run up and down the court, space the court, pass to the next man, shot. Wes Unseld Jr. told you guys that the one pass and shoot offense would be no longer. He told you that. You guys didn't listen. He said to you, the one pass and shoot offense is going to be scrapped. We're not going to do that anymore.
Right.
The whole point of this offense is for everybody to touch the ball. Okay? So when Spencer Dinwiddie is slowing up pace, he's getting the offense, the half-court offense, and it sets. So therefore, we can run plays for everyone in the offense to touch the ball. That's exactly what's going on. So I can't complain if that's what Wes Unseld Jr. is asking Spencer Dinwiddie to do. Period. That's it. I'm not expecting Spencer Dinwiddie to be Russell Westbrook, because when we traded for him, I said over the summertime, and you know I said it, Kane, I said, I'm not expecting Spencer Dinwiddie to be, you know, John Wall or Russell Westbrook. All right? We know he's not a dynamic point guard. So why would I have these expectations of this man to do things that I knew that he wasn't capable of doing when he got here? I wasn't the one who was saying, "Oh, Spencer Dinwiddie's on the verge of being an all-star." Never heard it out of my mouth. Did you say that?
Hell no. I
I,
never said that.
I never said Spencer Dinwiddie. In fact, we were saying Spencer Dinwiddie hasn't proved to us at all that he's even all-star level player. He hasn't. He hasn't
He
given us a
hasn't.
he hasn't given us a big enough sample size. 1 year, 20 points per game, 7 assists. The last person that I knew who had them numbers was John Wall, and he was recovering from an Achilles injury. So Spencer
We said
Dinwiddie's
that
best season is John
was
Wall's
Wall's worst season.
worst season. We did we not say that in State of the Wizards episode 2?
We sure did.
We said
Also, too, man, not to cut you off, also, too, Spencer Dinwiddie told you guys he wasn't here to be Wall or Westbrook. He
that's
told you this
exactly what he
himself.
said.
So that tells me that you guys were critical of him, didn't even listen to what he said. You not only didn't listen to what Spencer Dinwiddie said, but you didn't listen to what Wes Unseld Jr. said he was going to do when he got here.
Correct.
So all this complaining that everybody is having right now, my question to you guys, to the Wizards first, is what's the rush? This is a process. This is Wes Unseld Jr.'s first year as a head coach. What are we in so much of a hurry for this team to be great? It's a process.
Exactly. And you know what? It's kind of sad because I think the expectation was for us to grow, right? So this is a new team.
Right.
All the players are just getting acclimated with each other, brand new coach. So the idea was there's going to be a lot of hiccups this season because, it's going to take us some time to mesh and grow together, right? And so that didn't happen because we came out the gate running. Everybody was clicking on all cylinders from the first game of the season. And we had that fast start. So no one was giving the idea that this is still a new team trying to mesh well together, that was going to have growing pains.
Right.
Nobody factored that in yet because we've been on this high since the start of the season.
It's funny you say that. And you're absolutely right. I mean, if you think about it, man, Wizards Verse is literally chasing a high. We can relate to a drug addict. You're still chasing after that first hit. And that's what's going on. We're chasing after this first hit. Well, you and I are not chasing after it, but the rest of Wizards Verse is chasing after that first hit. But reality is that this is a process. It's going to take time. Wes Unseld Jr. told you this. I don't know why you guys are not listening.
Yeah, I mean, Wes Unseld Jr. said that we're not that good of a team to be down and expect to come back in these games and win these games. We're not that good yet. We're nowhere near where we really want to be. So Wes Unseld Jr. is having a hard time being able to juggle being a team of reality, which means we're still a young team that's growing together, and being a team that is on such a fast and hot start that people think that we're already the 1996, 97, 98 Chicago Bulls. So he's trying to balance that and get you guys to believe that we're on the right track. But the reality is we're still a young team that's going to have some growing pains. And people need to understand that first. Look, Davis Bertans, I was one of his biggest supporters. It's hard to support a man who's only shooting, 4% over his last couple of games. It's hard to support that. But the reality is Davis Bertans isn't asked to do the same thing in this system that he was asked to do in Scott Brooks' system. Okay, exactly. That's the reality. All right, I think it's so easy to jump down Davis Bertans back and say, man, you're trash. You're not worth your contract. That's too easy. All right.
Well, yeah, it's too easy. Very too easy. Yeah.
I mean, it's true. It's true. Like he gets paid a lot of money to perform and he's not doing it. So I can't defend him when he's not doing it.
But
But
it's not just him.
but it's not just him, right? Exactly. The reality is Davis Bertans has to adjust like everybody else. And keep in mind, this isn't a contract year for him. He already got his money. So a lot of guys that's playing well outside of what their expectations are, those guys are playing for something.
Which I had mentioned that during the offseason.
So there's the difference right there, you know?
So let's piggyback off that for a minute. So Davis Bertans got his money. Everybody is now complaining, saying he shouldn't have got his money. We need to get rid of him. But we talked about this in the last episode. Montrezl Harrell is up for a contract extension. I think KCP and Kyle Kuzma, they got one more year left. But those guys, those three former Lakers, are playing above their expectations. Do you fear that one of those guys could be the next Davis Bertans once they get their new deal from the Washington Wizards?
Yes, yes. I mean, we've already seen some drop off this season from certain guys, but look, let's be honest, Kjose, we have guys that are playing well outside of their normal selves. All right.
Right.
So that's the thing, right? We can't expect Trez to play at an all-star level for all 82 games. So the thing is like what we're getting is, how when you walk into a restaurant and you see that sample dessert or that sample dinner, and you're like, damn, that looks good. Damn, that looks good. And then you sit down and you order it and you want what you saw coming through the door. But then when you start paying for it and it comes to your table, it looks completely different than what was advertised.
Exactly.
After you done paid for it, mind you done paid for it. But wait a minute, that's not what was advertised. Like, what I saw out there, it could be on a commercial, it could be in the restaurant, I don't care where it is. The point is after guys get paid, it's not as advertised anymore. It all falls apart. You seen the McDonald's commercials, the burgers look all great, and then you go to the window, you pay for your food, you open up the burger, you like, damn, this ain't nowhere near what it looked like before I got here.
Yeah. Yeah, it looked like somebody sat on your burger.
Exactly. So with that point, what we're getting is the commercial.
Right.
We're getting the advertisement from these guys,
right.
because they're already playing outside of themselves. So
right.
we're getting the commercial guys right now, but the moment these guys get paid and we start spending our money on them, we'll get the sat on burger guys.
Right. I agree, because I know like you said, it's very easy to pick on Davis Bertans. I mean, when you look at his stats, I mean, he's averaging 23% from the field goal. He's averaging 22% from three-point range. I mean, these are below average numbers for a guy like him. But what I always say to you about Davis Bertans, he's a one-trick pony. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
But I believe he resigned because he was expecting to play alongside John Wall. Now, you and I know a point guard like a John Wall or a point guard even like a LaMelo Ball will benefit a guy like Davis Bertans. Like, people are expecting Davis Bird's hands to put the ball on the floor. That's not his game. He's pretty much like what Kyle Korver is, what Mike Donovan Jr. was. He's a 3-point specialist, and
And
you're
now that's
expecting him to do more.
and now that's what people are asking for. They're asking for a John Wall type of point guard that's going to drive in and collapse the defenses to kick it out to 3-point shooters. That's what they want Dinwiddie to do. But guess what? You guys didn't want that. You said that wasn't the vision. You right? Right?
Yep.
That was what we moved on past. Now that you guys see that we don't have it no more, you wish you had it back. You see how that works? You see how that works?
You guys see the vision, so stop the damn division.
You a damn fool. You see the vision. You know what? I ain't even gonna repeat it. I ain't even gonna repeat it. You see the vision, so stop division. Oh man. You know me, man. You know me, bro. You know I had to repeat it.
So let me ask you this, because you asked me this earlier. So I'm gonna ask you the same question. With this upcoming stretch, how do you feel about this team with this upcoming stretch? What are you expecting from this team with this upcoming stretch in the month of December? What are your expectations?
Well, I was gonna see if I could find the schedule up here so I can go over it, but I'll take a look at it here. Let's put it this way. So there's a good possibility that we'll know quick, fast, in a hurry in this first week and a half of December whether or not we are for real. Because after the 2 games at home, we play Toronto, then Indiana, then Detroit. So a lot of people will point, hey, Toronto's a winnable game. Matter of fact, all of these are winnable games. Toronto's winnable, Indiana's winnable, Detroit's winnable. There's a good possibility that we could win our 2 home games against Minnesota and Cleveland, and then win our next 3 on the road. That would essentially put us at 18-8. We would be 10 games over 500 if we take care of those games before returning home on a Saturday to play the Utah Jazz. And I'm just going to say, I'm going to chalk that up as a loss. So we could go on a streak. But here's the thing. The way the Wizards been playing on the road against below 500 teams, the Pelicans was a bad example. The Spurs were a bad example. So those games, those winnable games, could have essentially turned into what we just saw recently.
Right.
And if that happens, let's just say we take care of the next 2 games, we're 15-8. If that happens, we lose 3 straight, we're 15-11. Then we lose to Utah, we're 15-12. And then here we go. We got the at Denver, at Sacramento, at Phoenix, and at Utah. So that whole next week, you're on a 4-game West Coast trip, and there's a good possibility that you lose all 4 of those games. So again, assuming that we're 15-11 going into next week or going into the week after next, we could be 15-15 before that road trip, and then you lose 4 straight. You could be 15-19 just like that.
Yeah.
Just like that, you're 15-19.
Yeah.
So instead of it being 18-8, you would be 15-19. But go ahead.
Here's one stat that I wanted to point out. So, and I'm sure you probably saw this. So the road trip that we just came off, we were a minus 36 on the road trip that we came off against the Pelicans, the Thunder, the Mavs, and the Spurs. We beat the Thunder and we beat the Mavs, but we were a minus 36. I don't know what to tell you. My thing is with this team is we've lost focus. There's some guys that are not buying in. There's some guys that have their own agenda, and we completely lost focus. I'm not seeing us being a scrappy team. Let me talk about that Spurs loss last night. What I saw was a well-disciplined young Spurs team that every time we made a run, Popovich called a timeout. They come back, make an adjustment. They go out on another run against us. They're doing everything they're supposed to, collapsing the paint, making it more difficult for guys like Bradley Beal to drive in, get to the free throw line, makes a bad shot look like a turnover. The Spurs would drive to the basket. They'll have a wide open three. Instead of them taking that low percentage shot, which is a 3-point basket, they go for a higher percentage shot, go into there, get a 2-point. I mean, points in the paint, my dude. They had like 72 points in the paint last night. 72 points in the paint. We were not protecting the rim at all last night.
Yeah.
And people would look at the San Antonio Spurs, oh man, well, they're not a good team. Yeah, we know they're not a good team. But bro, we haven't beat them in San Antonio for 22 years. So I actually kind of wrote that off as a loss yesterday, even though on paper we were better than them. But we just don't win in San Antonio, no matter who's on that roster. We,
Right.
for some reason, can't never play right when we go in San Antonio. And to be honest with you, that's credit to Greg Popovich because that team was disciplined last night and we weren't.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to blame Wes Unseld Jr. for that loss last night. That was a team loss. The team themselves, the players didn't do what they were supposed to do. I literally think that they underestimated that Spurs team and they underestimated them and they got a good old fashioned ass whooping.
Well, let me say this too. We got zero fast break points. Zero fast
That's
break points. And I want to say that this is why people started pointing the finger at Spencer Dinwiddie, because they're like, hey, you should be able to push tempo. Like get out and run. But you know what? He's not the only guard on the team. You know, I saw a lot of praise for Aaron Holiday last night. I saw a lot of, Howard Neto when he comes in the game. You know, there's responsibilities all over the basketball court for each individual player. It's not like Spencer Dinwiddie is, the only guard on the team. Bradley Beal had every ample opportunity to push tempo last night. Get out in the break. He has that same opportunity as everybody else. Everybody else has the same opportunity as him. Well, not everybody, but you get what I'm saying as far as pushing tempo. If you're trying to push tempo, if you're trying to, get in your sets quickly, Spencer Dinwiddie is not the only player who needs to do that. All right. So going back to your point about a team loss, that is a great point because it is a team effort for why you're not getting, contributions all over the place. So if there's zero fast break points, and I believe the Spurs has 17, you could easily point to why the game swayed one way or the other because the Spurs were pushing tempo. They were getting out on the break. They were getting fast break points, hence 72 points in the paint. That's also contributing to the fast break numbers. So, the Wizards, we have to stop this, thinking that, it's one guy's problem, and we got to stop thinking that just because, one guy does it more than the other guy, that the other guy shouldn't have to, pick up the slack. Like, it's a collective effort. Everyone has to be involved. And let me make this last point. Spencer Dinwiddie, there's a reason why we re-signed Howard Neto and we traded for Aaron Holiday. Because where Spencer Dinwiddie drops off, it is those other two guys' jobs to pick it up where he leaves off. And you can't say that these guys don't get opportunities every single game. So I saw people making point on Wizards verse that, oh, we absolutely can't afford. Well, I said this too. We absolutely can't afford to not have Dinwiddie score. Absolutely right. But why are you saying that? Because Howell Neto and Aaron Holiday aren't doing shit. That's why you're saying that. But just imagine if they were actually doing something. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Imagine if they were doing their jobs. Then what you were getting out of John Wall, what you were getting out of Russell Westbrook, it cancels Spencer Dinwiddie's problems out.
Let me come to Spencer Dinwiddie's defense, too. He played 30 minutes last night. He finished with 16 points. He had 6 boards. He only had 1 assist. 10 shot attempts. That's his average. He shot 2 for 4 from downtown. Shot 2 for 4 from the free throw line. He only had 0 turnovers.
Yeah, he has 0 turnovers. He was
a -7, but he had 0 really. Him and Gaffer were actually in single digits when it comes down to plus and minus. Bill, KCP, and Kuzma, all of those guys were in double digits when it comes down to plus and minuses. Bill and Kuzma were both -11, KCP a -10. So really, if you think about it, probably the most efficient players in the starting lineup was Gaffer and Dinwiddie. And that's another thing, because Wes Unseld Jr. has mentioned that. I think when we lost to, I think it was the Pelicans, he mentioned that it was the starting lineup.
Yeah.
That was his issue.
Yeah.
That these guys are not getting it together.
Right.
He didn't say, oh, it's Spencer Dinwiddie. He said it was the starting lineup. So that means everybody who's starting, it's a collective, it's a team. All of those guys are being held accountable. But what I constantly see is Spencer Dinwiddie getting beat up. Bertans getting beat up. Times that Denny is getting beat up. There are times that Gafford is getting beat up. But there's only one guy who normally doesn't get criticized unless you have to really criticize him. But even when it's warranted to criticize, I see people making excuses for this particular player. And that's the Bradley Beal worshiping that still continues. But it's easy to pick on those players that I just mentioned because those guys are not the franchise players. Well, this is the type of team you want. Now you want to complain about the players that are around him and say, oh, well, they're not doing their job. Well, why is it when the team wins, all of a sudden these guys get praised, but then when we lose, then these guys are going to get criticized? You got to make your mind up. Make your mind up. This is the team you guys wanted. Now you want to go back to complaining about the players.
Right. I mean, Bradley Beal said he believed we had enough. And, you know, his apologists also said that they believed that we had enough to win. And so, you know, that's the attitude. The attitude is that, oh, well, we have enough. So the thing is if that's what you believe, then you believe that how we're playing right now is a winning formula of basketball. You believe in Spencer Dinwiddie. You believe in Davis Bertans. You believe in the guys who you said we had enough to win. That's essentially, that's what you believe, right? You said that you believe that we have enough to win. Well, if you believe that, then why are you constantly complaining about the things that you believe in? You know, that's my question. You know, my thing was, here's a good example of this. Kane, you know me, bro. How critical was I of these moves prior to these guys even starting one single game for the Washington Wizards? How critical was it?
You was critical of him?
Absolutely.
You was very critical of him.
But now look at me. Now look at me. I'm actually coming to Spencer Dinwiddie's defense for the people who was actually more Spencer Dinwiddie, pro Spencer Dinwiddie than I was.
Funny how that works.
I mean, come on. Like, that's what's funny to me is how I'm the one who was more critical of Spencer Dinwiddie before the season started. And these guys, the Bill apologists, were more Spencer Dinwiddie homers. And now that the season has progressed, these guys are criticizing Spencer Dinwiddie more than I am. And I was a much bigger critical. I was more critical of Spencer Dinwiddie than they were. So my thing is
Right.
you know, you can't make sense of it because it's just hypocritical. It's just a hypocritical way of thinking. Like, again, you knew what type of player we were getting out of Spencer Dinwiddie. Don't sit here and say that you did not know that Spencer Dinwiddie was a low 41% career field goal percent shooter before he got here. Don't say that. Don't sit here and say that you believe that Spencer Dinwiddie was the next coming of John Wall before he got here. Don't say any of that. Because what you said that you wanted is exactly what you're getting out of this team and exactly what you're getting out of Spencer Dinwiddie. Look, I know somebody who is a Nets fan. He loves the Nets. And even he told me today, he said, Dcan, Spencer Dinwiddie is a great basketball player. I love Spencer Dinwiddie. I think Spencer Dinwiddie is the missing piece to the Brooklyn Nets right now. But I'd be lying to you if I told you that he was a consistent basketball player. He said that. He said, I'd be lying to you if I said he was a consistent basketball player. He has games where he goes missing a little bit. And it's somebody who's the biggest Spencer Dinwiddie fan you can find. So, you know, the thing is, you know, that's a realist. Okay, that's a realist. I'm a realist. You know, while we're being critical, at the same time, I'm telling you guys why we made the move. I'm telling you guys that I never believed that Spencer Dinwiddie was going to be more than what we're getting out of him. And I'm also telling you that other guys' responsibilities are supposed to make up for the lack of what Spencer Dinwiddie is giving you. So, right. So for you guys out there who are saying that you believe that Spencer Dinwiddie's supposed to be averaging at least 20 like he did for the Nets, well, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. I'm sorry to say. But the 5-point difference should be coming from Raul Neto. The 5-point difference should be coming from Aaron Holiday.
That's why those guys are here.
That's why they're here. And here's my last point. And we can wrap this up unless you have something. But this is my last point. This is Spencer Dinwiddie's recovery year. This is when he's recovering from an ACL injury.
Exactly.
Okay? John Wall put up 20 and 7 in his recovery year. But nobody expected John Wall to immediately turn into the all-star John Wall. Just like when Derrick Rose came back from his ACL, nobody expected Derrick Rose to turn back into the MVP Derrick Rose.
Exactly.
This is his recovery year. So, you know, take that for what it's worth.
Pretty much, man. I mean, Wizards first, you know, you be careful what you ask for. This is what you guys wanted, and now you guys are upset. You're trying to figure out why does your Big Mac look like somebody sat on it?
Exactly.
Like, come on, man. I mean, what did you expect? We tried to tell you guys. We tried to tell y'all during the off season. We didn't have these high expectations for Spencer Dinwiddie. We didn't have these high expectations for the team. You know, we knew that this was going to be a process. But for whatever reason, we know what the reason is, because the organization was saying that first round exit is no longer acceptable, because Bill has said, okay, we got enough. Now you guys are holding those guys accountable. I appreciate that you guys are holding them accountable as such. But at the same time, you should have known that this was going to be a process. Wes Unseld Jr. told you that. it was going to be a process.
Exactly.
I just don't get what's the rush. But then again, I do. So I
Yeah,
don't know what more
because
to say.
people just want to say, "K Jose, I told you so." That's the rush. They just want to be able to point the finger and say, "I told you that was going to happen."
Speaking of which, I wonder where those guys at right now. Are they out there? I don't see y'all. You know who I'm talking about. I don't see you guys.
They MIA, bro. MIA.
I know they missing in action. Put them on a milk carton.
Well, that concludes this episode of State of the Wizards. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. We'll check you guys on episode 15. This is episode 14, wrapping it up. K Jose along with Dcan signing off. Thank you guys again. Make sure subscribe, follow, share, drop a comment, show us some love. We'll show love back. You guys have a good night.